Hey everybody, Jeff here.
Megan.
Yes, we're back again. And in celebration of the next game that we are going to take a look at, we decided to bring our favorite geeky coffee mugs to set. To
Yay.
Studio. To the Geek Compound, as it's been known. So I am here with my lovely TARDIS coffee cup. One of my favorite, which we have an entire geek collection of coffee mugs. It is kind of ridiculous, we admit it, but we won't stop anytime soon. What do you have with us?
I have Wonder Woman, of course.
Of course. So, what brings out the geek cups in us? Well, it's a game called The Grind, where it's from TCN Games. It's 2 to 6. Yep, 2 to 6 players. Plays pretty quick, I'd say, pretty fast.
Oh yeah.
And it is basically you are taking the position of a barista at a busy, hectic coffee shop, and customers are coming in, and you're trying to serve them as quickly and as pleasantly and as fulfill their requests as much as possible in order to get the best tips. So it's the barista with the most tips at the end of the game, or the first one to 15. If you run out of customers, then it's whoever has the most tips. But the first person to 15 tip points, if you will, is the winner. But there is a slight catch. So, you know, we're all working against each other. We're all working for the tips that we can get. But if we get too many customers that are unhappy with our little coffee shop here, the game can end if we get too many bad reviews. So we all lose in that case. So it's one of those. It's mostly competitive, but there's that layer of co-op that you want to make sure that, you know, your coffee shop doesn't close house and that everybody loses when you could potentially be close to winning. So you got to kind of walk that fine line a little bit. So, The Grind. What did you think of this one?
I like this game. Of course, the theme. I love coffee, so the theme works really well for me. But I think it's a fast, easy game. The first time around, I didn't have a good barista card. I think it would have been good if we had more than 2 people playing it. So it was a little rough the first go, but the second go, I really enjoyed it. And I think it's just it's definitely a different gameplay for 2 people than if you have more than 2 people. Yeah,
I think that's the one thing that's unfortunate for us right now is that we didn't get to play this with more people. So far we've played it several times 2-player, and that's fine. We've actually had a lot of fun with it, but there was like the first barista that Megan got really had some abilities that were better for multiple players. So, you know, the first play, she didn't get to use her special abilities very much, which, just to lay on, when everybody gets a barista card, you're a specific barista. Every barista is a little bit different. You're going to have so many action points that you can spend, and those can vary by barista. There's going to be so many cards you draw on your turn. Those vary by barista. And then every barista has at least 2, really 3, special powers. You have basically like 2 that you can spend your action points on to do, you know, souped up things. And then there's usually like a once per turn kind of ability as well. So, you know, mix and matching those with your normal actions is what makes up what you get to do on your turn. And, you know, those things are varying things, like being able to, you know, as you're not waiting on customers for a while, they start getting impatient and eventually they leave, and that's where you get your bad reviews. You know, some abilities allow for removing impatience from customers so they don't go away. Some allow you to look at distracted customers and like not give them an ingredient that they're looking for, or substitute a different ingredient. We had some, I had one character that instead of doing my regular draw, I could take something out of the discard pile. Just all kinds of little things like that all kind of work together. The one that Megan had that didn't work real well with 2 players was, what was it?
A manager. I can look at other people's cards. That was one of them.
That was one of them, but there was the rearranging of something.
Oh yeah,
play order or something.
Yeah. I could determine who could play next or whatever.
Yeah, so it was like 2 of us. Okay. So one of the things that we did to rectify that, and I think 2 to 3 players definitely can do it, because this goes up to 6 players. But in a 2 to 3 player game, what we did on our next few plays was draw 2 baristas, choose which one you want to use. That worked out really well for us, and we got to see varying baristas that way too, because a couple times one of my baristas I had already played before, so I went with the other one just to kind of get a feel for the different abilities. So one of the reasons why I thought this would be a good one for us to look at is because of the theme. Megan is a frequent local coffee shop visitor. Yep. Told her she needs to go ahead and bring this down there and hang out while she's drinking coffee with her friends, and they can play it. I know Steven, and he's getting ready to put this out on Kickstarter, and I think this is actually going to be a relaunch. It's been renamed, it's been streamlined, it's been looked at in a lot of different varying ways, and I think he's done a really good job trying to get this to a point where people are going, it's more accessible to a lot of people than some people originally might have thought. And we, like I said, we sat down and played it. We had a great time with it. It was a nice casual little game. It was something that, once we were playing while we were waiting for kind of dinner to get done, we ate and then turned around and played a couple more times, just kind of a nice in between. Let's play something nice and light, fillery, with a theme that we both enjoy. We could make coffee in the morning, sit out on the deck.
Okay, now we're getting a little ridiculous.
No, but this is definitely a good one, and it's coming up on Kickstarter here very soon, and it could launch. I know he's still looking at dates, but it could launch anywhere within the next couple weeks, I think. And definitely go check it out. If I can get a preview link, I'll definitely put it on the video and in the description, and as soon as it launches, I can update that as well. But The Grind from TCN Games, definitely check it out. It's a great casual, light filler game that I think you'll enjoy, especially if you like the coffee theme. And now I'll show you components, and then we'll show you a little gameplay. All right, now I'm going to show you the components that come with The Grind. First up here, the box. Again, I just want to point out that this is, of course, a prototype. The final version may be a little bit different. In fact, there's one thing on one of the cards I will point out that I already know has changed. So the final version will be different. So what do we get with The Grind? Well, here's your rule book. Does a pretty good job here. Some nice examples, shows you the cards, all that good stuff. Pretty decent rule book there. Get a bunch of coins here. Again, I think these will be different in the final version, but this is just to kind of show you what you'll begin to track your tips. Move that off to the side there. Here's our bad review tracker with the meeple. So this is if you start getting bad reviews, if customers are getting too impatient and leaving the coffee shop, you'll start getting bad reviews. If you get to 3 bad reviews, you have to take 1 card from your hand and pass it to another player, so everybody will pass a card. If you get to 6 reviews, you pass 2 cards to, I believe it's player on the left. You pass 2 cards, you have to discard 1, and then from now on, your total hand limit is reduced by 1. If we get to 9 bad reviews, that is game over. Nobody wins. So that tracks our bad reviews. Speaking of impatience, here's our impatience tokens to show that customers are getting impatient. Set those off the side, but show you where those go here in a second when we get to the customers. Here's the majority of the cards that you get. These are the stockroom cards, and these are all the ingredients and stuff that you're going to be using. So, for instance, here we've got a cup of coffee, some whipped topping, some creamer, artificial sweetener, and so on. Lots of different things. There's also basically kind of like event cards. I believe they call them notice cards. But there's event cards that you can use that kind of give you a free action. Some of them might cost you an action. You got to kind of read them. But like the Employee of the Month here, your boss took notice of all that hard work you've been putting in. Trade this card for 2 extra actions or 2 extra ingredients on a future shift. Once you've used it, discard the card. So there's some other abilities in there as well. But the majority of this is ingredients that you'll be using, or items you'll be using to satisfy customers. Speaking of customers, here's our customers. So I told you I'd point out one thing that I know has changed. This magnifying glass is no longer used. Basically now it's basically like Z's, like a sleeping kind of sign to show that a customer can be distracted. So this has been replaced with just a regular distracted icon that works across the board. So you've got picture of the customer, customer's name, occupation, if they're distracted or not, and then we've got, I'll show you the red and blue symbols on the side here. Basically what this says is Harrison the journalist, since it's a blue cell phone, he has a cell phone, he likes cell phone, he's on his cell phone. Now if Leilana here, who's a photographer, if she is next to Harrison on the board, she's got a red cell phone, meaning she doesn't like when other people are on their cell phone. So if she's sitting next to Harrison, she's going to automatically lose a little bit of patience with the coffee shop. So continuing to go down here, we got our middle here. This is what Harrison's looking for when he comes into the coffee shop. He wants a cup of coffee with some sugar, some whipped topping, and cinnamon. You need those 4 things to make him satisfied and complete his order. There's also a bonus if you can also provide him a shot of espresso. This is optional, but you will get a bonus tip if you are able to provide all of this and the shot of espresso. Down here's that patience tracker we were talking about. So if you can get to him right away with everything he needs, up here you'll get 3 coins for your tip, or 4 if you give him the bonus. If he starts to lose patience, next time he'll only give you 2, 1. If he fills all of this up, that's when he leaves and gives you a bad review. So this will kind of be on the table, and as each turn kind of comes around, these will start filling up. Or for instance, if he's on the table and Leilana comes out next to him and goes, "Oh, he's on a cell phone," I'm automatically impatient. And so that's what, you've got things like some of your customers have kids, some of them don't like to be around kids. There's smoking and non-smoking, stuff like that. So that's the basic makeup of your customers in your customer deck. The only other thing would be there's a table reserved, and basically what this is, you're only allowed to have 2 customers in front of you at a time in front of your play area. There's more on the board as a whole, but if this was in front of you, it's taking up one of your 2 spots that you can't have a customer in front of now, and it stays around for basically like 2 turns, 2 more turns before it goes away and frees up that spot for an additional paying customer. The only other thing I will say about this is if you take care of Roby here in front of you, you get this 3 money, right? If Roby happens to be in front of another player, you can still satisfy this, and instead of the 3, you'll get 2, and whoever Roby was in front of will get 1, so they'll get a coin in the tip. for being in basically their station, if you will. Then we've got a bunch of baristas. Now this is where your variable powers come in. Every player will have a different barista, and the barista makeup is action points they get, cards they get to draw on their turn, their name, part-time, full-time manager, little picture, and then some abilities that they're going to get. And this is where everybody has slightly different abilities. So here, for 2 actions, Rick can forget an ingredient. He can leave out 1 item from an order if a customer is distracted. And again, going back to customers, this will now be a Z icon, like 3 Z's, look like sleep, to represent a distraction. So if a customer has that ability to be distracted, that's when his ability, Rick's ability here, can trigger. Then we've also got give out free samples for 3 of his action points. He can remove 1 impatient token from every customer on the board. So he helps customers stay around. He can help you not get bad reviews. He can help you increase the tip you're going to get, but it's going to cost him 3 of his 4 action points. And then he has a once per turn, Rick may discard any new card from his current hand for 1 new card from the stock room. This is done at the cost of 1 action. Alright, so again, they all have different abilities. They all have different action points and cards that they can draw. So it's all going to vary a little bit by which barista you have. But there you go. That is our barista cards. And that makes up the components you're going to get in the grind. Alright, we've gone ahead and set up for a 2-player game. So we've each got a barista. And let's see, I've got Chris, who has 4 action points. He draws 4 cards. He's a full-time employee. He can rearrange tables for 2 action points. Switch any 2 customers on the table with the customers in your area. So basically I can rearrange customers anywhere. Work overtime for 3 points. Work a double tonight and draw 1 extra ingredient this turn. And then down here we've got Chris is a head barista and has learned a few tricks along the way. Using his newly developed organization technique, he can carry 1 extra ingredient in his hand. So I can keep 10 cards instead of 9 cards.
Nice. I'm Devlin. I'm a part-time barista. I have 4 action points and I can draw 3 cards. My options are I can swap an ingredient, which is I can swap 1 ingredient of my choice for any customer who's distracted. And then I can check on customers, where I can remove 1 impatient token from every customer in play. But when I buy ingredients, I can draw 1 extra ingredient to choose from. After choosing what to purchase, the extra card should be placed in the discard pile. So,
all right. So our baristas will probably be off to the side a little bit so you can actually see our customers. We can each have up to 2 customers in front of us. You start the game with 1 customer each. Here's our pile of tips that we're trying to get to. First player to 15 wins, unless the customer deck runs out, and then it's whoever has the most tips. We've got our bad review tracker up here. Again, we're trying to avoid this. We get to 3, something bad happens. We get to 6, something bad happens. We get to 9, the game is over, nobody wins. And we start with 4 ingredients out in the that we can interact with, and then our pile over here, customer cards here, and we start, I think I might have already said it, but we start with 5 ingredients. And you want to lead us off?
sure.
So, sequence of events. First thing you do, this is the start of the game, but if Ian is still here at the start of Megan's next turn, he would get 1 of his impatient tokens on there. And so now, if you fulfill his order, he's not going to tip you as much. If you get all the way to the end, if he stays there that long and never gets his order, that's when he goes away and gives you a bad review. But start of the turn, so no impatient markers at this point. Next thing you do is if you have less than 2 customers in front of you, so Megan's got 1 right now, so she's going to get a second customer to come out.
And uh-oh.
Ah, yes. So Ian here is a smoker. So he likes to have a smoke, but Carol comes out and is sitting right next to Ian and does not like smokers. So she automatically becomes impatient. And this check is done every time customers kind of change in and out. So let's say Ian goes away, another smoker comes in, Carol's going to be upset again. So she's already starting not real happy with our coffee shop here.
No. Well, I will draw 3 cards, and then I get the 4th one to choose from.
Yep.
And then pick which one I get to throw away right away. So I will put that there. And
all right, so yeah, she's drawn her cards, and now she gets to use her action points. So different things that she can do with her action points. Again, her special abilities for her barista cost action points. Once per turn, you can spend an action point to come up here and exchange 1 card from your hand for 1 card that's available here. If you have a tip that you want to spend, you can also basically wipe the board here, start with 4 new cards, and then do the exchange, but that will cost you an action point and a tip if you have any. You can do that. You can trade between other players. That can be done unlimited. That doesn't cost you an action point. You can just do that. And you can complete an order for an action point, and that's doing everything that the customer wants. In this case, Ian is looking for a cup of coffee with sugar, whipped topping, and chocolate to complete this order. And then there's a bonus. If you can get him a gift card, he will give you a bonus tip as well. But that is optional.
okay, so I will swap an ingredient because he's distracted. So I will do a cup of coffee, and with that he gets some whipped topping and some chocolate, but instead of sugar, I'm giving him a shot of espresso.
Nice.
So I will...
Way to be distracted, Ian.
Yep. So I get 4 cents for a tip, and he goes away.
It goes in our discard pile. So, and that cost Megan 2 action points, but she was able to, instead of the 1 action point to take care of a customer to complete an order, it cost her 2, but that's because she swapped out an ingredient.
So, and then I'm done.
All right, so she's not going to use her other 2. All right, again, impatient tokens, but this is still first turn. I don't have 2 customers yet, so I draw a customer. See, I've got Harry. No, he's not happy with cell phones, but cell phones aren't out right now. And then I get to draw 4 cards. I also have 4 action points. Oh, missed one. Alright, so for one of my actions, I think I'm going to go ahead and grab this cup of coffee and exchange it for an apple juice. And now that I've done that once, unless I have a card or something that lets me do something, I can't do another exchange for another thing up there. But I am able to take care of Harry here with a cup of coffee that has sugar, chocolate, and whipped topping. So that will get me 4. That goes in the discard. He goes in that discard. So right now I've got Heather that I can't help right now. I've used 2 points of my 4. Yeah, I think I'm gonna be done.
Okay. Well, I have to draw an impatience. There's that. I get a new customer. And, yep.
So, Robert doesn't like kids since we're all kind of adjacent to each other. Robert's adjacent to my Heather, who has a kid. Robert becomes impatient.
Great. Let's see here. So I get to draw 4 cards. 4. And I will discard that one. And I think what I will do is, let's see, I got 4 actions. So, okay, so I'm going to swap. There's 1 action. Do that. And then I will do Robert. So chai, whip topping, and I don't have creamer, but instead, he's gonna get a little Irish cream.
All right.
So I get
1.
Yep.
It goes in discard. Robert will go into this discard.
And I used all my actions.
All right. So, impatient token for Heather. I don't have 2, so I get another one. She's not happy with cell phones, but nobody's got a cell phone next to her. And I get 4 cards. I'm going to help the table here. Customer's credit card is declined, so Carol goes away, so we don't have to deal with her being impatient next turn and giving us a bad review.
Yay.
And that was one of my 4 actions to do that. I am going to go ahead and spend a second action and one of my tips to wipe the board here. And then with that, I'm going to get to do an exchange as well. Which, I go ahead and give up the yogurt for that cup of coffee there. So that was 2 of my 4 actions. Don't know if that was enough to get me where I need to be. Not quite, but I am going to put out Employee of the Month. So your boss took notice of all the hard work you've been putting in. Trade this card for 2 extra actions or 2 extra ingredients on a future shift. Once I use it, I'm going to have to discard it. So I'm going to put that out and use it later. And that is going to be me.
Okay. Okay, so I draw 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I will, let's see here. Get rid of sugar. And then let's see what I can do. Oh, forgot to get a customer. So I have Jessie, the receptionist. So I need lots of stuff. Well, I will be doing swap an ingredient, but I will be doing it for your Leilana. So there's her cup of coffee with some sugar and some creamer. But I don't have peppermints, so instead she's going to get a muffin.
All right.
And so...
All right, so that would be 3. But since she waited on somebody on my side of the table, I get one of the tips, and then she gets the 2. But Layla is taken care of now.
And that was it.
All right, so impatience building up here on Heather. Now I get another customer. Oh, table reserve. Basically what table reserve is going to be is it takes up my second spot for basically 2 rounds or 2 more turns. It's not going to count as a bad review. It's just not going to let me have another customer in front of me until it goes away. So I get my 4 cards. I think I will turn in my employee of the month for 2 extra. That didn't help me. I'm going to throw down another employee of the month, though. Now I got all kinds of cards. What do you got over there? Maybe I can help somebody on your... No, you're...
I'm about the same as...
Yeah. Pretty close to what I'm already trying to deal with.
Do you need something, Emily?
The same thing that you don't have. Shot of peppermint.
Oh.
I'm going to go crazy.
Go crazy!
I'm going to work overtime for an extra ingredient. Still not what I needed. So now I've got even more to discard. 9, 10, since I get to keep extra cards. Everything else goes in the discard, and I'm done. Not use my leftover action.
Okay. So I get an impatience, and then I get a new customer. Then I get to draw 4 cards. I will drop that. Okay. So I am going to trade for 1 action, the whip topping. And then I am going to go after Harrison, cup of coffee with sugar and whipped topping, and I will do artificial sweetener instead of cinnamon, but I have a shot of espresso for the bonus tip.
All right.
And so I get 3, 4.
Yep.
And there goes Harrison.
You're killing it.
What?
I can't get nothing working over here. All right, my turn?
Yep.
All right, Heather, not happy. Bad review.
Aww.
Then I also get to put an impatience token on my reserve table. New customer comes out.
Oh.
Nice. All right, 4 cards. I'll work overtime for the extra ingredient. That didn't help me. And then I've got the chai, artificial sweetener, and the creamer and the whipped topping. So that takes care of Chrissy for 2.
Ack.
And can I take care of what you've got? I can.
Because you have 4 million cards.
So coffee with sugar and chocolate and cinnamon. That would be 2, but you get 1 because it's on your side of the table, but I needed just the 1 for 15, so that ends the game. I get 15. 15 to 13. Very close game.
That is a good game.
All right, so there you go. That is how you play The Grind.